When you stop being an image for others, you become yourself for the first time. The danger of self-sufficiency. Why solitude terrifies society. Imagine this picture. A man is sitting alone in a cafe. Everyone else is frantically scrolling through feeds on their phones, desperately seeking validation from strangers on the internet. Couples around him are taking selfies. Groups are gossiping. Singles are swiping on dating apps as if their lives depend on it. But this man, he has headphones in, and he is listening to an audiobook on philosophy while everyone else is deafening their minds with TikTok. He is different. He is not lonely. He is not desperate. He is not seeking anything from anyone. And that, my friend, makes him the most dangerous man in that room. Why? Why is a man who is comfortable in his own skin, who doesn't need constant external approval, who can sit with his thoughts without trying to escape them? Why is that so terrifying to society? Hold that thought. We are about to dive deep into something that will forever change how you think about solitude. The lie society tells you about being alone. Here is the brutal truth that nobody wants to admit. Our entire social structure is built on your neediness. Think about it. Every advertisement, every social media platform, every dating app, every self-help guru, they all operate from one fundamental assumption. You are incomplete without others. Find your soulmate, connect with friends, build your network. You need community to be happy. But what if that is all a lie? What if the man sitting alone, perfectly content in his own company, represents something so threatening to the social order that we have collectively agreed to label him lonely, antisocial, or weird? Here is what I have learned. Society is not afraid of the man who cannot be alone. Society is terrified of the man who needs no one. When philosophy becomes your armor. Let me tell you about two men who understood this dangerous truth centuries apart: Friedrich Nietzsche and Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his personal journal, "All wickedness comes from weakness." This was a man who could command anyone to do anything, who commanded legions. Yet he spent his evenings alone, writing to himself, questioning everything. Nietzsche, a philosopher who went mad but whose ideas survived empires, declared, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." Both men discovered something that society desperately wants to hide. The man who can be alone with his thoughts is the man who can think for himself. And thinking for yourself is damn dangerous. The psychology of the dangerous loner. Now, let's talk about what is actually happening in the mind of the man who chooses solitude over social approval. They have broken free from the approval addiction. While everyone else is posting, liking, commenting, and chasing that dopamine hit from social media, this man has found something more powerful: self-respect that is not contingent on external metrics. They have befriended discomfort. Most people cannot sit alone with their thoughts for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. Why? Because the silence reveals who we really are, and most people do not like what they discover. But the dangerous loner has made friends with their demons. They have had those 3 a.m. conversations with themselves. They have faced their fears, their insecurities, their failures, and they have come out stronger. They cannot be manipulated. This is the most crucial part. When you do not need others for validation, you cannot be controlled by the threat of rejection. You cannot be bought by popularity. You cannot be silenced by social pressure. The Marcus Aurelius method. Strength through solitude. Marcus Aurelius had a practice that would seem strange to most people today. Every evening he would reflect on his day, write down his thoughts, and engage in what he called the discipline of desire. He asked himself, what did I want today that I did not need? What did I fear that was outside of my control? What did I do to gain approval that compromised my values? This was not just journaling, it was training. He was building psychological muscle. Marcus understood something profound. A man who knows himself deeply cannot be fooled by the superficial games others play. When you have spent time alone with your thoughts, when you have explored your motives, when you have met your shadow, other people's opinions lose their power over you. Their attempts to manipulate you become transparent. Their social games become boring. You become dangerous because you become free. The Nietzsche problem. Creating your own values. Nietzsche took this idea even further. He said that the truly dangerous man is the one who creates his own values rather than inheriting them from society. Most people walk around with a moral code they never chose. They believe what their parents believe, what their friends believe, what their culture believes. They are living a second-hand life. But the man who spends time in solitude starts asking the uncomfortable questions. Why do I believe this? Who benefits from me believing this? What would I believe if I had to start from scratch? That is where it becomes dangerous. Because once you start thinking for yourself, you cease to be predictable. You cease to be controllable. You cease to be a good little consumer who buys what he is told to buy, votes how he is told to vote, and lives how he is told to live. The modern epidemic: loneliness versus solitude. Here is where we need to be crystal clear about the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a state of deficiency. It is feeling that something is missing, that you are incomplete, that you need others to fill an inner void. Solitude is a state of wholeness. It is the ability to be complete in yourself, to enjoy your own company, to find peace in the quiet. Our society has conflated these two states because it profits from the confusion. The lonely man is a consumer. He will buy products to feel better. He will seek validation through purchases. He will remain distracted and obedient. But the man who enjoys solitude buys nothing. He seeks no approval. He is not distracted. He is thinking. And thinking men are dangerous to systems built on thoughtless obedience. The 4 pillars of dangerous solitude. By studying both Marcus Aurelius and Nietzsche, I have defined 4 key principles that make solitude dangerous. Radical self-honesty. The dangerous loner has learned to be brutally honest with himself about his motives, his fears, his desires. They do not lie to themselves to feel better. They face the truth. This makes them dangerous because they can spot the lie in others. They see through manipulation. They cannot be fooled by pretty words or social posturing. Value independence. They have drafted their own moral code based on reason and experience, not on social pressure or tradition. This does not mean they are amoral. Often they are more moral than the average person. But their morality comes from within, not from an external authority. This makes them dangerous because they cannot be managed by shame or guilt. They do what they believe is right, regardless of what others think. Emotional self-sufficiency. They are not dependent on others for their emotional well-being. They have learned to regulate their own emotions, to find peace within themselves, to be their own source of strength. This makes them dangerous because they cannot be emotionally manipulated. They do not need your approval, your love, or your acceptance to feel good about themselves. Intellectual courage. They are willing to think the thoughts others won't think, question the beliefs others take for granted, and go where the evidence leads, even if it is uncomfortable. This makes them dangerous because they cannot be silenced by social pressure. They will speak the inconvenient truths, even when it costs them social connection. The cost of being dangerous. Let us not pretend this path is easy. There is a price to pay for this kind of independence. People will misunderstand you. They will call you antisocial, arrogant, or strange. They will try to pathologize your preference for solitude. You will sometimes feel isolated, not lonely, but isolated. There is a difference. You realize that most people are living at a different level of consciousness, and that can sometimes feel lonely. You will lose some relationships. People who depend on your neediness will feel threatened by your independence. Some friends will drift away. Some family members will be made uncomfortable by your growth. You will face pressure to conform. Society will constantly try to drag you back into the herd. There will be subtle and not so subtle pressure to be more social, more normal, more like everyone else. But here is the thing. The cost of conformity is even higher. The cost of conformity is your soul. Why society fears the self-sufficient. Let's talk about why this is so threatening to people. Economic reasons. Our entire economy is built on people buying things they don't need to impress people they don't like. A man who is content with himself buys very little. They are not good consumers. Social reasons. Social hierarchies depend on people caring about status. If you don't care about status, you cannot be managed by it. You become unpredictable. Political reasons. Democratic systems rely on people who can be swayed by popular opinion. If you are thinking for yourself, you become harder to manipulate politically. Psychological reasons. Your independence reminds others of their dependence. Your contentment highlights their discontent. Your freedom makes their cage more visible. The modern Stoic, applying ancient wisdom. So how do you become dangerous in the best sense of the word? How do you cultivate the kind of solitude that makes you free, not isolated? Start with small doses. Begin spending time alone without distractions. No phone, no music, no podcasts, just you and your thoughts. Start with 10 minutes and build up. Practice the evening review. Like Marcus Aurelius, take time every evening to reflect on your day. What did you do well? What could be improved? What did you learn about yourself? Question your beliefs. Like Nietzsche, regularly audit what you believe and why. Do not accept ideas just because they are popular or traditional. Think for yourself. Develop your own moral code. Decide what kind of person you want to be based on reason and experience, not social pressure or tradition. Learn to enjoy your own company. Find activities you genuinely enjoy doing alone. Reading, walking, reflecting, creating. Build a rich inner life. Stop seeking approval. This is the hardest one. Stop looking for validation from others. Stop caring about likes, comments, and social status. Find your worth within yourself. The paradox of dangerous solitude. Here is the beautiful irony. The man who needs no one becomes the most attractive to others. When you are complete in yourself, when you are not needy or desperate, when you have your own source of power and peace, that is magnetism. People are drawn to that energy. But here is the key. You don't do it to attract others. You do it because it is the right way to live. The attraction is a side effect, not the goal. Relationships improve when you don't need them. When you choose to be with someone because you want to, not because you need to, the relationship becomes healthier. Friendships deepen when they are optional. When you are friends with someone because you genuinely enjoy their company, not because you are lonely, the friendship becomes more authentic. Work becomes more fulfilling. When you are not desperate for approval from your boss or colleagues, you can focus on doing good work for its own sake. Life becomes more meaningful. When you are not constantly seeking external validation, you can focus on what truly matters to you. The call to a dangerous life. So here is my challenge to you. Become dangerous, not dangerous in the sense of harming others, dangerous in the sense of being uncontrollable, dangerous in the sense of thinking for yourself, dangerous in the sense of being complete in yourself, dangerous in the sense of having your own values, your own moral code, your own source of strength. The world needs more people who cannot be bought, who cannot be manipulated, who cannot be silenced. The world needs more people who are comfortable in their own skin, who don't need constant approval, who can sit with their thoughts without trying to escape. The world needs more people who are dangerous. If this hit you in the chest the way it hit me when I first understood it, I need your help. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You know who it is, because the algorithm needs to know that this kind of content matters. Leave a comment and tell me, what is one belief you are carrying that you never chose for yourself? What is one area where you have sought approval instead of cultivating self-respect? And remember, in a world full of people desperately trying to fit in, the most radical act is to learn to stand alone. Stay dangerous, my friends.